Y'all, we're making teriyaki sauce. Come on. Welcome to Highfalutin Low Carb, the random web series where we find and test the best low carb recipes this crazy internet has to offer. Today, we're tackling teriyaki sauce. Stay tuned. All right, guys, low carb teriyaki sauce. Is it possible? There are a lot of options now available that are prepackaged and bottled, and most of those are fair, but they are lacking in the homemade and or restaurant flavor of true teriyaki sauce. So today, we're going to be testing two very popular recipes. The first one is Keto Teriyaki sauce, easy sugar-free Japanese recipe, and this is by the website MyKetoKitchen.com. And then the second recipe is Keto Teriyaki sauce, and this is by the website KickingCarbs.com. That's kicking-carbs.com. Now, first of all, it's been a long time since I've seen you guys. I don't know where you've been, but don't let it happen again, and I promise not to disappear as well. So if you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. Please hit the like button down below because the algorithm is going to kick my fanny because I haven't uploaded in a couple of months. So please be sure to hit the like button and let YouTube know. I hate to even ask off the front, but before we begin though, I need to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of this video, Green Chef. Green Chef is a CCOF or certified organic company with meal plans to fit a variety of lifestyles, including keto, paleo, vegan, gluten-free, vegetarian, fast and fit, and Mediterranean. It's nice to have a fridge full of delicious meals that are ready to go. Now, the recipes are usually quick and easy, and there's a step-by-step instruction guide. You get a card with chef tips and photos to sort of guide you along the way. And what's nice is you really learn how to combine flavors and textures that you probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise that you can then take and use in other dishes that aren't from Green Chef. So one of our favorite meals this week was the cumin spiced shrimp. This thing has roasted veggies, and then you top it with cotija cheese and this beautiful creamy chimichurri sauce that's already prepared for you and ready to go, and then the nice little toasted pepitas that are going on top. This thing was delicious, and I'm really kind of understanding now that I really enjoy their seafood options. What's nice is that these are all packaged and portioned out and ready to go, and often the sauces and seasonings are prepared for you already so that you can skip a step there and just get a meal on the table pretty quickly. So right now, Green Chef is offering a tremendous deal to you guys. If you'll go to greenchef.com and enter code Highfalutin130, you will get $130 off your first order and free shipping on your first box. So Green Chef, thank you for sponsoring this video. It's sponsorships like yours that keep channels like mine on the air, and for that I am truly appreciative. So guys, again, if you want to support me, go support them. Go to greenchef.com, enter code Highfalutin130. You'll get $130 off your first order and free shipping on your first box. All right, let's go make some teriyaki sauce. Come on. All right, guys, so let's get started on our first recipe. This is probably the easier of the two. This uses tamari instead of coconut aminos, and it uses powdered spices instead of fresh ground spices, but that's sort of what I want to see the difference of. Does fresh mean better than quick and easy? So again, this is Keto Teriyaki sauce, easy sugar-free Japanese recipe by MyKetoKitchen.com, and this is really quite simple. All of this is going to go in a pot, and we're going to boil this down, and there's just one little step that we need to think about. So we're going to start with some water here. Again, if you want to know exactly how much of these ingredients, go to the website down below. These aren't my recipes. I'm just here to test them. Now, this is tamari, which is like a soy sauce alternative that is gluten-free. That's the easiest generalized way to say it, is that tamari is made with just soybeans, and soy sauce is made with soybeans and wheat grain. So make sure you look on the bottle though if you're using tamari, or you can use coconut aminos like the second recipe, but sometimes those are more difficult to find and more costly. So if you're okay with soybeans though, tamari is just fine. And now we're going to add in some sweetener. She called in this recipe for xylitol. I don't keep xylitol in the house. It is, if you don't know, it is deadly lethal to dogs. And we have two here, and I just can't run the risk of a crumb falling on the ground. I don't know if that much would kill a dog, but I'm not going to test it. So she said you can also use Swerve, but then it might harden as it cools, and you might need to melt it again before the next use. So that is going in the bath. And next are our spices. This is garlic powder and powdered ginger. Again, that's pretty easy because that's something you can have on hand, and even if you don't have fresh ginger, you could always make this sauce. And then a little bit of sesame oil, and sesame oil gives a lot of flavor to Asian dishes. And if you're ever cooking at home and you're like, wow, you know, this doesn't taste exactly like as good as it does in the restaurants, a lot of times a little bit of sesame oil can make all the difference. So again, we're going to bring this to a boil and reduce this by about 1/4 cup. And so I'm going to do that now, and we've got one less step. We're going to add, once we get this reduced, we're going to add xanthan gum to it to thicken this. But if you want to use this as a marinade, instead of a sauce that you're going to brush on at the end of cooking, if you want to use it as a marinade, you're going to wait to add the xanthan gum. You would just omit that, or perhaps divide this by half and make a marinade with 1/2 and then a little bit of xanthan gum in the other half. But the point being, the xanthan gum is only if you're going to use it as a brush-on sauce or a pan sauce. So, all right, I'm going to turn the heat up on this. We're going to bring it to a boil, and I'll speed this up so you don't have to watch it. And I'll meet you right back here before we add the xanthan gum. All right, see you in just a bit. Okay, so this has reduced quite a bit, as you can see, but we're still rather liquidy. So this is where you would take this off, cool it to room temperature, and then you can use it as a marinade, right? Refrigerate it and use it as a marinade. But if you want to go the step further, this is where the xanthan gum comes in. It's just a very small amount of xanthan gum, but the only trick here is you've got to keep whisking this as you gently sprinkle this over, because xanthan gum, as you know, can really ball up and clump fairly easily. So just want to make sure you're whisking constantly while you're adding that in. So we're going to boil for a couple of more minutes until this thickens up nicely, and then we'll pour this off and start on our second recipe. I'll speed this one up again. All right, guys, so as you can see, our sauce is nice and thick. You can run a spoon through it and create a trail. So I'm actually going to keep this in this pot for now. I'm just going to transfer this, put it back on the back counter, and then I'm going to get set up for recipe number 2, and I'll meet you right back here in just a second. All right, guys, we're back for our second recipe, and this is Keto Teriyaki sauce by the website kickingcarbs.com. That's kicking-carbs.com. Again, all these recipes are going to be here printed on the screen, and they're in the video description below. Just expand that. You can click out to those and get recipes for all of these ingredients. So this one is a little more involved as far as ingredients go, but it makes a smaller serving, so we're going to just use a smaller pot here. And so again, we're going to get a pot on the stove, and we're going to start with less of the liquid ingredients. We're going to start with water, okay, about half as much as our first recipe. And then we're going to go with, instead of the tamari, this is coconut aminos, and I actually prefer coconut aminos, to be honest with you. It doesn't have soy; it's made from fermented coconut. So in that goes. And lastly, for the liquid ingredients, some rice vinegar. And be absolutely sure you are buying unseasoned rice vinegar. If you just go to the grocery store and pick up the first one you see, it's probably going to be a Kiko Man product or one of the other big major brands, and it's going to have sugar in it. If it's seasoned, it has sugar. Make sure you are buying unseasoned rice vinegar. And I think that's going to add a depth of flavor too that we might be possibly missing from our other recipe. And this is going to be brown sugar substitute. I'm using Swerve here. Again, another level of flavor depth I'm imagining. And then here's where the real big difference comes in. And this is the fresh spices and aromatics. So this is freshly grated ginger root, this is minced garlic, and a little bit of crushed red pepper, another element we were missing from that first recipe. So all these go in the pool, and again with the same recommendation here, we're going to thicken this up with a little bit of xanthan gum, not nearly as much as we used in that first recipe, but that's going to come after this boils for a little while. So we're actually going to cover this for 5 to 7 minutes. We'll whisk it every now and then and cook it covered. So we're not really reducing this at all. She doesn't call for the reducing of it. Because there's nothing for you to see, I'm just going to cut here. I'm going to cover this, cook it, and I'll see you back here in about 7 minutes, okay? Hold on.
A few moments later.
Okay, so we are back, and as you can see, this is still pretty liquidy, but I imagine you needed to cook that to get the garlic and the ginger cooked and incorporated. So now we're going to do the exact same thing, just while whisking, gently whisk in, sprinkle in the xanthan gum. That's not nearly as much, about half as much as our other recipe. And now we cook this for 2 minutes while whisking, just to make sure this gets thick. So I'm going to do that and speed that up, and then I'll bring both of these out, and we're going to test them and see what we think. Okay, meet you right back here. All right, guys, so we're back and we're going to taste these now. As you can see, both are here. The larger pot here is the first recipe. This is Keto Teriyaki sauce, easy sugar-free Japanese recipe. This actually, I'm going to pour these out on a plate so you can see the consistency and color. This actually makes 20 servings. Of a tablespoon each. So that's, to me, a little bit unrealistic. But if you do, it's there's really not a whole lot of nutritional information to go over here. But it's about 16 calories per tablespoon and 1 carb. And then this second recipe, not quite as thick, but looks more like, you can't see it yet, but the chunky stuff in it, all the aromatics, looks and smells like true teriyaki sauce. It makes 6 servings, so 20 servings, 6 servings. That's probably more like it. You're probably going to get 3 tablespoons maybe in a recipe, you know, if you brush it on some fish or chicken or steak or whatever. And if you do, that's about 17 calories and 3 carbs. So it's about a carb per tablespoon. Again, this second recipe was Keto Teriyaki sauce by Kicking-Carbs.com. So the question is, what do they look like and what do they taste like? And I think the easiest way for me to do that, rather than cook something with it, because we're going to be using it like a condiment, right? I'm going to put a spoon full on a white plate so you can see the consistency. That is pretty thick. It's not, I'm tilting pretty vigorously, and it's not running. It is kind of a caramel brown in color, and it is completely silky smooth. There are no discernible chunks, I guess you could say. And then now this is our other recipe, a little bit thinner, which I'm not mad at, because generally if you're cooking with it, you're probably going to be grilling with it or grill panning with it. Now see, that runs, I can't hold it there as long, that runs a little bit more, but this is a lighter brown, and we didn't reduce it as much, right? But it has some of those other flavors. So now, what do they taste like? I'm just going to taste on the spoon that I already have. This is going to be stronger than you would normally be doing it, because you're going to be using it as a condiment, right? So, whew. Immediately just a punch of salt. Holy smokes. Let me get some water, hold on. To be honest, that's just a punch of salt and not much else. I cannot determine much sweetness. There's 0 ginger flavor. And I mean, remember that we reduced that down. So you're reducing an already salty tamari sauce, and I even used reduced sodium tamari. But, okay, let me clear my palate. Okay, this is the second one, Keto Teriyaki sauce. It's by KickingCarbs.com. I love the chunks in it. This feels like you're at the, the hibachi grill at the local Japanese. Okay, that has flavor. That is not just a salt lick. That, I mean, while it is a little salty, again, this is with coconut aminos. There is ginger, there is garlic. It's got the brightness of the acidity, probably from that rice vinegar, which the other one is missing. There's heat to it. Gets you right in the back of the throat. That little bit of crushed red pepper. So, while both of these are good, I think that, just personally me, I think reducing this down really made this extra salty. And instead of like using a whole cup of water and reducing it by half, just use half the water, and you don't have to reduce it as much. You're adding water just to steam it away, and in turn reducing down a lot of the soy sauce, the tamari sauce, into something really quite salty. Now, granted, if you put it on chicken or fish, it's going to be different, but that is almost too salty for me. And then the second one, the fresh ginger really seals the deal, to be quite honest. And if you're not the kind of person that wants to keep around a knob of ginger, some might say it's sacrilege, but go get the little squeeze tube of fresh ginger in the produce section. Keep it in the fridge, because like most people, we probably aren't cooking with ginger every single day. All right, folks, so low carb teriyaki sauce. Can it be done? You better believe it, but I would definitely swing for the fresh ginger and garlic and the other little ingredients that we had in our second recipe. So thank you so much for joining me. I say it every time. These videos are a way for me to maintain my low carb way of eating, and looking in the end of that camera as often as I can helps keep me honest. So I appreciate that you have come along for the journey, and I apologize for having been gone for so long. I promise it won't happen again if you don't let it happen again. Also, be sure to check out the subscription button down below. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're still subscribed. I know it's been a while since I put out some videos. Also, like this, help the YouTube algorithm get me out of the hole that I have dug for myself. Just hitting the like button helps so much. Leave a comment below. Give me some activity if you don't mind, please. Again, I need to thank the sponsor of this video, Green Chef. Be sure to go to greenchef.com and use code Highfalutin130 to get $130 off your first order and free shipping on your first box. I say it all the time, sponsorships aren't why I do this, they're how I do this, and sponsorships like Green Chef keep channels like mine on the air, so I'm truly appreciative for that. So go check them out there. And lastly, I need to thank my rock stars who have hung in here for the last couple of months without any content. These are my Patreon members. You're going to see their names start to scroll here on the screen. They are truly my rock stars. If you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/highfalutin-low-carb. You can give $1 or $2 a month just to sort of keep the train on the tracks, as it were. So truly appreciative to all these wonderful folks here. So, all right, guys, I love you, and I'll see you very soon for another low carb recipe. Bye-bye.